Hey, up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire geek. I'm back again with part 2. Apologies for the interruption earlier on. As you saw, my brother and my nephew arrived. They're bringing me birthday cards. It's my birthday tomorrow. And I did warn that, I could be interrupted. And I was. But are we going? Let's make sure we're going. Right. So let's see. If we're all up and running. If I click that, come on you come. There we go. Is it going? Yes, we seem to be. We seem to be going on Rumble, and are we going on Twitch? Yes, we seem to be going on Twitch as well. So we're up and running again. We're live again. Right. So where were we? We were in the middle of a story, weren't we? Just talking about George Lucas. George Lucas's fatal mistake was directing all the Star Wars prequels himself. But we'll start as though this is a new show. It is a new show. As usual, links in the description down below, not for just these stories that I'm going to finish off, but the ones previously, they're in there as well. As I said, I'm on Rumble and Twitch, and I'm on YouTube, obviously. And you can also find me on Spotify later on, and Amazon Music Podcast and Google Podcasts and Facebook, Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. Links in the description. Links to my 2 books are in there as well. Blah, 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 blah. Right. Let's get on with this story about George Lucas. I've forgotten what I said, so we'll just start from the beginning because we got interrupted mid-article. So we'll just start from the beginning. Hang on, I haven't done the share screen, have I? No. Ah, dearie me. Dearie me. Right, there we go. Right, so off we go. There we go. See, we're all wrong thing now. Right. Hey, why is my thing at bottom there for no reason? Oh, it's gone now. Fair enough. Anyway, right. George Lucas's fatal mistake was directing all the Star Wars prequels himself. As I said before, no shit, Sherlock. George Lucas chose to direct the prequel trilogy, breaking with the tradition from the original trilogy. Why did he do this? And was it a mistake? Yes, it was a mistake. But it wasn't a tradition, was it? As I said before, he didn't direct Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi because he almost killed himself directing Star Wars. He ended up in hospital, didn't he, with like nervous exhaustion or whatever. He thought he was having a heart attack, but it wasn't. It was like stress, anxiety, and all that. And hypertension. Right, George Lucas made one major mistake with the Star Wars prequel trilogy, ignoring a lesson from the original trilogy that he should not direct the movies himself. The Star Wars prequel trilogy initially received a mixed reception on its release, although its reputation has rightly improved over the years. Still, it remains valuable to look back and explore what factored into the disappointed response to the prequels. Although Lucas insisted he was pursuing his own vision, even he had to take notice of fan reactions. This led to several pivots in the storytelling. For example, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, introduced concepts such as midichlorians and the Chosen One prophecy, but Lucas chose to avoid focusing in on these, stating in interviews in Paul Duncan's The Star Wars Archives, Episodes 1 to 3, 1999 to 2005, that's a mouthful, isn't it? That doing so would be indulgent. It's part of the story. He shouldn't have introduced them, should he? If he didn't want to, embellish them or, expand on them. But the narrative wasn't the only problem. In fact, a major issue may have been baked into the franchise itself. But as I said, I think the thing with the prequel trilogy is what they probably went on first drafts. He rattled off his drafts, and nobody dare tell him, no, George, you're an idiot. Let me check this. They dare tell him there because it were all. They didn't have a Gary Kurtz, as we're going to see in a moment. They didn't have a Gary Kurtz to stand up to George. All they had were Rick McCallum, who claims he stood up to George, but he didn't. Anyway, but they still did use the midichlorians a little bit, but they did kind of swing away from them. But the Chosen One prophecy is the main thing, isn't it? Through the prequel trilogy. Anyway, looking back to the original trilogy, Lucas chose a more hands-off approach by remaining in San Francisco while the movie was shot in Europe. Although George Lucas received rough film cuts, he wasn't directly involved in filming. I think it was. He'd be there most of the time, I reckon. In 1979, Gary Kurtz, who produced all three of the original trilogy movies, no, he didn't. We covered this before. He did the first two, and he was the one who stood up to George a lot and told him he was being an idiot when he was being an idiot. But he left. He left in Return of the Jedi because George was just diverging too far from the original. It says the original Bible that they had. It diverged too far from that. And so he left, or was he fired, or was he pushed? I don't know. But anyway, he told the New York Times this was entirely deliberate. It is very difficult, he said, to look over another director's shoulder. The temptation is always to say, I wouldn't do it that way. Fortunately, George doesn't really care to direct. He hasn't directed a film since Star Wars, in fact. This is in 1979. He prefers editing. We always thought a different director should tell each of the stories. As I said, it really wasn't the case, was it? He only didn't direct the others because he ended up in hospital after Star Wars, and he didn't want that pressure and that stress again. Anyway, you'll get a different emphasis and approach that way, but it turned out for the better because, like I said, Lawrence I forgot his bloody name now. Empire Strikes Back director and Robocop 2 and Eyes of Laura Mars. Unbelievable. Irving Kershner, that's it. Irving Kershner. I say he directed an amazing film, didn't he? Anyway, Kurtz's words make complete sense as each of the three original trilogy films feel slightly different in their direction. And Return of the Jedi is more like a George Lucas film than Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back film, to be honest. Anyway, but still felt like they were a part of the same universe. It keeps audiences interested and allows different individuals to put their mark on Star Wars. However, let's make sure we're still going. Let's just make sure. Yeah, and that's better make sure we've got audio on YouTube. Yeah, and that's better make sure. Yes, we have. We've got audio. All right, press click, go away. That's enough. Where were we? It keeps audiences interested and allows different individuals to put their mark on Star Wars. However, this didn't happen for the prequel trilogy since George Lucas directed all three films. Knowing that Kurtz said Lucas didn't like directing, it's a little odd that Lucas put himself in that position for three films. In fact, George Lucas didn't direct one film between the first Star Wars movie, later retitled A New Hope, and Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and there's 22 years between them, isn't there? 77 to 99. Yeah, 22 years between them. But yeah, as I said, he kind of became the emperor. He became Palpatine, didn't he? Surrounded himself with yes men and all that. And as I said before, he rattled off his first draft scripts with a lot of they fight and put in all his, his nonsense, basically, midichlorians, all that stuff, prophecies, etc. A lot like the original script for The Star Wars. If you read that, that's got a lot of, wild and wacky things. 70s sci-fi, basically, that got whittled down and made more realistic, essentially, into the Star Wars we love. But anyway, it's interesting to speculate about why Lucas chose to break his original trilogy rule and direct the prequels, because, I don't know, he probably just thought it'd be easier with the technology at hand. The likely explanation is that over the years he had felt an increasing sense of ownership of Star Wars and sought to create his definitive vision. Well, yeah. This also fits with the changes he made with the special editions because he became obsessed with minutiae. That's what he did. This is from Attack of the Clones, isn't it? I think. Saying, see that over there? That's the faster with more intensity sign. Read it. It's difficult to say whether the prequel trilogy would have been better received at the time of their release had Lucas not been in the directing chair for all three movies. They'd have been stylistically different, and there may have been wider changes. I mean, he brought other writers in, didn't he? Like, people criticised him for Phantom Menace, so he brought in other writers. Don't ask me the names; I can't remember. But he brought in other writers to assist him on Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. But you can't really know. I don't know. Was he lying? Were there really no other writers? I don't know, but he says he did. Not that you can tell. Where were we? They'd have found they'd have been stylistically different, and there may have been wider changes. Actors admitted they found it difficult challenging Lucas with dialogue because they felt Star Wars belonged to him. They saw themselves as simply fleshing out his vision. Harrison Ford didn't have any bother with that, did he? George, you can type the shit, but you can't say it. That's what he said, didn't he? But it must be stressed that Lucas's prequel trilogy is not bad. It simply disappointed viewers who didn't get what they expected. I like the prequel trilogy, particularly John Williams' music. I think some of his best music is in the prequel trilogy, particularly the Phantom Menace. It's awesome. It's an awesome score, is the Phantom Menace. Pardon me. But I do like the prequel trilogy. But you know, it is goofy in places, more goofy than the original trilogy. The original trilogy is kind of gritty and 70s and realistic, you know, for as far as space fantasies go. It's got a lived-in feel, whereas prequel trilogy is a little bit glossy, to be honest, and a little bit sterile in a way. But anyway, because it's all the CG, although there is still quite a lot of model work, particularly in the Phantom Menace. But anyway, despite the different directors' notion from the original trilogy, it still feels special that George Lucas decided to get into the directing chair again for the prequels. Lucas was someone who largely only wrote and produced After A New Hope, and his willingness to direct the prequels, Ice Cream Van outside, I don't know if you can hear it. Got the window open because it's a lovely day. Anyway, and his willingness to direct the prequels. I'm having a right day today, aren't I, with these streams. And his willingness to direct the prequels shows how passionate he was about Anakin Skywalker's origin. But it's interesting to note the sequel trilogy abandoned this approach, taking on multiple directors with mixed results because it was garbage. Although I did like Force Awakens. It's possible Star Wars needs a more subtle balance between vision and different directors. But I don't know why I decided to go on Anakin Skywalker's origin, because it's from the adventures of Luke Skywalker. That was what Star Wars were all about, wasn't it? You know, just case in point. Can you read that? From the adventures of Luke Skywalker. Chosen one. Anyway, we're going to get back to that. We're going to get back to that book, as I said before. I was interrupted by my brother bearing birthday cards. Right, we'll move on to the next story. But yeah, George Lucas became Palpatine. He did. He became Palpatine. Surrounded himself by yes men, which I'll read it out now. Sod it. I'll read it out now. Where are we? There we go. I'll read it out now. The bit I'm on about, which has, which I'm going to come back to. But wherever, there we go. Once secure in office, he declared himself emperor, shutting himself away from the populace. Soon he was controlled by the very assistants and bootlickers he had appointed to high office, and the cries of the people for justice did not reach his ears. So there you go. Surrounded himself by yes men. That's what George did. Are you listening, George? Of course he's not. Anyway, right. We're sticking with Star Wars. There we go. For Gizmodo, Mark Hamill is fine with Star Wars recasting Luke Skywalker. The Star Wars actor also commented on if he'd appear in the upcoming Rey-focused Jedi movie. And there's deep-faked Mark Hamill. A very good deep-fake, I must admit, in Book of Boba Fett. Better than they did in Mandalorian. Even dead, Luke Skywalker keeps finding his way back into Star Wars. It happened first in 2019's Star Wars The Rise of Palpatine, when the deceased Jedi Master, with his massive head, returned as a Force ghost. In 2020, it happened again, this time as a younger, de-aged CGI version on The Mandalorian. Finally, in 2022, Skywalker returned a third time, the most extensive yet, as that de-aged version on the Book of Boba Fett. Like I said, famously, the one from The Mandalorian was kind of a little bit, uncanny valley and didn't look amazing, but it were okay. And then a young fella, don't ask me his name, did the deep fake version that were miles better. So Lucasfilm employed him and to do the Book of Boba Fett version. And then I think they just fired him or let him go or whatever. Maybe his contracts were just to do that. And now he doesn't work for them anymore, apparently. Anyway, it is unusual to see yourself like that, actor Mark Hamill told Esquire about seeing a younger version of himself on the Disney Plus shows. Also, he added, it can't be cheap. Luke's appearances on the 2 Disney Plus shows were the first time the character had been seen in that long period between the events of Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. And since Star Wars storytelling has only scratched the surface of what Luke did in that time in books like Shadow of the Sith and in movie flashbacks, Hamill acknowledges it's possible the character could return yet again. And also in games, it popped up in games, didn't it? Did Luke? Is in I forgot what it is now. One of the Jedi Knight games. He pops up in that, doesn't he? There's Luke. People say, oh, now you're going to be able to do a whole series of Luke post Return of the Jedi. What have I seen? I've seen him in the newest game. I can't remember. Put it in Battlefront 2, where Luke Skywalker's in it. I didn't get very far in Battlefront 2 in the single player campaign because I'm crap at games and I couldn't get past the ATST. Sorry, ATST. I couldn't get past it. Anyway, because I'm rubbish. Anyway, people say, oh, now you're going to be able to do a whole series of Luke post Return of the Jedi. I said, I don't think so. Hamill said, first of all, they don't need to tell those stories, but if they do, they could get an age-appropriate actor. The last part is key because Lucasfilm has only recast major roles when the age difference is huge, such as with Leia, whatever, and Luke on Obi-Wan Kenobi. Well, the extra kids, weren't they? Anyway, if Hamill would hypothetically be okay with a young actor playing the character, you'll think others would too. But that's the past. Should have got fleas. But that's the past. As for the future of the character, after returning as a Force ghost for Rey in The Rise of Palpatine, Esquire asked if he'd come back for the upcoming Rey movie. One thing you'll learn working for Lucasfilm, everything is confidential, Hamill said. So if I were involved, I wouldn't be able to tell you. And if I were not involved, I wouldn't be able to tell you. So I don't know. We'll all find out together, I guess. I think he would. I think he'd jump at the chance, to be honest. Because they seem to get on, didn't he, him and Daisy Ridley? They're all on Twitter and stuff, weren't they? And Instagram and all that. Photos of them having fun, him giving him a piggyback and stuff like that. They seem to get on well. So, is that it? Yeah, that was it. So, yes, I think he'd come back. But I think, but also I think is that pragmatic that he knows that they're not going to ask him back to play young Luke. And they don't even need him for the voice now, do they? Because they've got like deep fake voice things now. I don't know what they call it. But they can even do that, can't they? Which I think they might have done in Book of Boba Fett, but I'm not entirely sure. Right, so there you go. So that's he's fine to be recast, and it's the way of the world. Remember when they didn't care? Remember when Hollywood didn't give a stuff about, characters looking the same from film to film? I mean, how many James Bonds has there been? How many Spider-Mans has there been? How many Batmans has there been? But for some reason, they cling to like the Star Wars characters. Those, let's say, those likenesses have become so iconic. They don't want to let them go, do they? Or have another person playing them. Look what happened with Alden Ehrenreich and Solo, a Star Wars story. People pushed against that, didn't they, for some reason? And I think he did a decent job, even though he was like a foot shorter than Harrison Ford. Anyway, let's move on. Hang on, I've not done my full screen thing. There we go. Right, we're going back to this book again. When did Star Wars first give the Emperor his Palpatine name? And there he is in Return of the Jedi. So be it, Jedi. In George Lucas's 1977 film Star Wars, a military-run fascist empire rules the galaxy, and it's up to a scrappy group of rebels to attack them and destroy their ultimate weapon, a moon-sized space station capable of exploding entire planets with a single shot. It's not really moons, it's more like, asteroid-sized, isn't it? Well, it's supposed to be like 150 kilometers across or something. Like a big asteroid. Anyway, space capable of exploding entire planets with a single shot, known as the Death Star. In Star Wars, the highest-ranking Empire official audiences see is Grand Moff Tarkin, Peter Cushing, a stern commanding officer who orders many to their deaths and who commands an eerie, masked space wizard named Darth Vader. Played physically by David Prowse, voiced by James Earl Jones. Because remember, in Star Wars, Vader was essentially just the heavy. It was Tarkin's heavy, wasn't he? He was his side. He was a sidekick essentially to Tarkin. Tarkin was the baddie. Anyway, at one point, Tarkin mentions that the Empire has an emperor, although we never actually see him in the flesh. Yes, he does mention it. When he talks about the Senate being dissolved, the Emperor has permanently dissolved the Council. The last remnants of the old Republic have been swept away. How will the Emperor maintain control without the bureaucracy? Regional governors now control their territories. Anyway, whatever. In the 1980 sequel, The Empire Strikes Back, it is revealed that Darth Vader was always a high-ranking individual in the Empire, as we now see him commanding entire Star Destroyers. It is also revealed that Vader answers directly to the mysterious Emperor, who only appears in the form of a hologram. In the original theatrical version of the movie, the Emperor was played physically by Elaine Baker and voiced by Clive Revill, but the eyes, I think, were chimpanzee eyes, or gorilla eyes, some ape. In later editions of Empire, the Emperor was played by Ian McDiarmid. In the film's credits, the character is simply called the Emperor. The credit remained in the 1983 sequel Return of the Jedi, directed by Richard Marquand. McDiarmid returned to the role and finally appeared on screen. The character was impossibly ancient and could barely rise from his throne. Vader ended up throwing the Emperor down a shaft, but he survived somehow. He could barely rise from his throne. He got up, didn't he? So be it, Jedi. If you will not be turned, you will be destroyed. Bzzz. Did all that, didn't he? Stood up when he did that. Anyway. Fans have long called the character Emperor Palpatine. However, despite the name never being used in a Star Wars film until, was it 1999? When did the name first enter Star Wars lexicon? Was it in 1999? No, it wasn't, as we will see. A young Senator Palpatine is a major player in many of the Star Wars films and TV shows set before the 1977 original. In George Lucas' Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Ian McDiarmid plays the character and his name is spoken openly by other characters. But not his first name. We didn't find that out till later, did we? A curious piece of trivia is that The Phantom Menace is the first time the character's name was spoken on screen in a feature film. If one is going only by the movies, the Emperor remained unnamed for 22 years. Note that background characters that look exciting and interesting but are never addressed by their given monikers on screen have long been a staple of Star Wars. Some of them are named in the film's scripts, while in other cases their names only really become widely known among the public thanks to the miniature action figures based on them. You know, such as Hammerhead. Anyway. A Star Void, for instance, might be able to tell you who Ponda Baba is, but he's never named in Star Wars. We saw him in Rogue One as well. He's the fellow with the bum thing in the canteen. He doesn't like you. Not him that says that, the other fella. Because the other fella, him that says that is Dr. Everson. Likewise, most of the aliens and creatures seen in Jabba the Hutt's palace in Return of the Jedi are never named on screen, although in certain cases their full titles and monikers are mentioned in the script. See Bib Fortuna, Dewana Wanga. Anyway, what about the name Palpatine? In Michael Kaminsky's 2007 book, The Secret History of Star Wars, it was revealed that Lucas had originally envisioned a long line of corrupt emperors, not just Palpatine, and that the emperor on the throne at the time of Star Wars was to be named, no kidding, Kos Dashit. Some real glup shito energy there. Is that another name? I've not heard of that one. Yes, it is. There's a link. Who is Glup Shito? Explained Star Wars joke meme. All right. That's the first time I've heard that. But anyway, in 1976, however, novelist Alan Dean Foster debuted the Palpatine name in the original Star Wars novelization, which is here. Never mind that George Lucas there, nonsense. It was Alan Dean Foster, ghost written. Palpatine is 76. There he is in The Rise of Palpatine. We'll get to that, but we'll read it from the book. This is from the original book. What's the? Is this an original? It's a reprint. This is a reprint from 78. Is this one, by the way? This one I've got that I've had since I was a kid. Yep. So where does it mention his name first? Right, here we go. Aided and abetted by restless, power-hungry individuals within the government and the massive organs of commerce, the ambitious Senator Palpatine caused himself to be elected President of the Republic, although, in the Phantom Menace he was Chancellor, wasn't he? He promised to reunite the disaffected among the people and to restore the remembered glory of the Republic, which is what happened in Phantom Menace, didn't it? Once secure in office, he declared himself emperor, shutting himself away from the populace. Soon he was controlled by the very assistants and bootlickers he had appointed to high office. And the cries of the people for justice did not reach his ears, which is not exactly what happened in the films, is it? He knew what he were doing. He was a Dark Lord of the Sith. That's not what they're saying here. Having exterminated through treachery and deception the Jedi Knights, guardians of justice in the galaxy, the imperial governors and bureaucrats prepared to institute a reign of terror among the disheartened worlds of the galaxy. So that's in this. It's kind of saying that he were a puppet emperor put into power by corrupt, politicians and military people. Essentially, that's what they're saying there. Anyway, where were we? George Lucas was originally credited author of the Star Wars novelization, but Alan Dean Foster was in fact the real writer. He went on to write Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was going to be the sequel movie. If it wasn't such a massive success, if it hadn't made like all the money it made and went to do Empire Strikes Back, Splinter of the Mind's Eye was going to be the sequel movie because it was going to be a lot cheaper to make, apparently, because they want a bigger cast and all that. No Harrison Ford had been in it because there was no Han Solo in the film. It was just Luke and Leia and the two droids on the planet Mimban, and it's a cool book. It is a really good book. Anyway, the original title of the novelization was Star Wars from the Adventures of Luke Skywalker. In 1981, the novel was retitled Star Wars A New Hope. About the same time, the 1977 film was altered to include Episode 4, A New Hope, in its opening title crawl. It seems that the novel, based directly on Lucas's script, used the name Palpatine in print to describe the Emperor in a prologue, despite never being addressed by name in the films until 1999. And by the way, also, it tells you, I think it's yes, it's from the first saga, Journal of the Wills, that would have just read out from. So that's where the wills were mentioned way back then as well. So there we go. Despite never being addressed by the name in the films until 1999, the Emperor was Palpatine as long ago as 1976. The name was further confirmed in the 1983 novelization of Return of the Jedi, written by James Caan. We're going to talk about his first name, because his first name's Sheev, isn't it? But we'll get there. Of course, Palpatine has other names. In The Phantom Menace, Palpatine is addressed openly, but he's also secretly manipulating people via holograms while wearing a cloak. He is the Phantom Menace, because he's Darth Sidious, isn't he? In the Phantom Menace novelization, written by Terry Brooks and published in 1999, Palpatine's shadowy persona was first referred to as Darth Sidious, a man that would also appear in the finished film. This is Palpatine's evil Sith identity. We see in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, that Sith Lords are given ranks and titles by the Order. Anakin Skywalker, Hayden Christensen, is given the name Darth Vader. Darth, it seems, is like calling a priest father. That's it, it's a title, in it, rather than a name, which is weird. It seems, I know it's not, but when Obi-Wan says, he calls him Darth, doesn't he, in Star Wars when he's fighting Darth Vader? He says he calls him Darth, and as though but he says it in a way that it's his first name, but it's not. It's a title, isn't it? But I suppose it's like calling him Captain or whatever. I suppose, I don't know. Anyway, I was going to say something else, and I forgot what it was. Right, we also had Darth Tyrannus, didn't we? Which was Count Dooku. Anyway, it also seems that Palpatine is a Christian name. Well, a first name. So they want a Christian, want it? In the 2014 novel Tarkin by James Luceno, it's mentioned that Palpatine's first name is Sai Sheev. This name was invented by Lucas. As of 2023, no new names or titles have been invented for the character. Long live Emperor Sheev Darth Sidious Palpatine. Formerly Senator Palpatine, formerly Chancellor Palpatine, and if you go by this book, formerly President Palpatine. Right, so there we go. So I just found that interesting. So he's been Palpatine ever from the get-go, basically, from way back in the beginning. 1976, thanks to Alan Dean Foster and George Lucas, obviously. Right. With Star Cruiser news now. There we go. Disney wanted to rebrand the Star Wars Star Cruiser Hotel to the Mandalorian. There's Mando, Din Djarin, and Grogu, and the lovely Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan Kryze. Many would consider the sequel trilogy one of the worst things that Disney has done with Star Wars. But as far as finances go, the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel at Disney World might go down as their biggest blunder. The hotel wasn't open long and it's already set to shutter its doors this fall. Apparently, there were plans to try and save it. And Slash Film recently, or Italic Eye Film, I've got to say that every time, recently reported that these plans included changing it to the Mandalorian theme to turn things around. For those not in the know, the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel was an immersive experience akin to a cruise that allowed guests to stay in a ritzy themed room and pretend like they were bounty hunters in George Lucas's expansive universe. However, the experience was prohibitively expensive, averaging out to around $1,600 per person. That's for like 2 nights or whatever. And Disney didn't get the engagement they were expecting because it were rubbish. At that price point, it's definitely not surprising that the venture failed. And even bringing on the adorable Grogu and cool as ice Mando probably wouldn't have changed much. Probably not. Like I say, well, something like for a family of 4, it was around $6,000, wasn't it, for a 2-night stay? And that's ridiculous. And what did you get for your money? You were squeezed into a tiny cabin, aboard the Star Cruiser. If you wanted to, get the full experience, you had to do certain things at certain times, for the story. And the weird food that were just like stuffy food colouring on and just, muck, basically. It didn't look very nice. You had a cabaret act that wasn't very good. What else were there? Oh, there were lightsaber training, which looked garbage. That was about it. And then I think you got a 1-day pass to Galaxy's Edge. I think that was it. Anyway, I've read that bit. Right. Apparently, the Mandalorian theme idea wasn't... This would have just changed it and just become the original trilogy. Had Darth Vader walking about and invading with stormtroopers, then have some rebels come in and try and save the day and all that. That'd have just been much better instead of this sequel trilogy stuff. It's because they were trying to distance themselves from George Lucas's, characters. Anyway, apparently the Mandalorian theme idea wasn't the only idea to save the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser from going defunct. Too late now, it's closing in September. They also considered giving tours of the experience for those visiting Disney World for an additional price. Well, of course, it's all about the money, isn't it? Overall, it kind of seems like Disney was assuming that only the super rich were coming to visit their theme park and hotels. While the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser was probably a cool experience, the juice just doesn't seem worth the squeeze. Fans can still enjoy the Galaxy's Edge area of Disney World, but it seems unlikely that Disney will revisit the immersive hotel concept anytime soon, especially because it's estimated that the losses from the project are around $1 billion. And there's, are they not real people? They don't look very real, do they? Anyway, in the tiny rooms. Fortunately for fans, there are other ways to enjoy the Star Wars universe at a much more reasonable price point. A Disney Plus subscription, for instance, will give fans access to all of the content they've made so far. It's like sponsored by Disney. Day. along with the anticipated upcoming shows like Ahsoka, blah, blah, blah. Not too far in the future, fans will also be able to visit the Star Wars universe on the big screen once again, after the critical disappointment of The Rise of Palpatine, or a comedy. Fans were unsure when the franchise would be brought back to theatres again. However, Disney surprised everyone. I mean, no, not Disney. Kathleen Kennedy surprised everyone with a sweeping announcement of its upcoming film slate. And I bet Bob Iger were like, "Hey, it's the first I've heard of this." Amongst the upcoming Star Wars movies are a movie that will see Daisy Ridley's Rey attempting to start a new Jedi Order 15 years after the events of The Rise of Sky. Palpatine. That was close. These may not happen. I think the one that's most likely to happen is the Dave Filoni one. A Dave Filoni directed film that ties together Disney Plus shows like The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, because, you know, there's the series to back that up. So that is the one, in my opinion, is the one that's most likely to happen. And a movie about the origins of the Force. That's the James Mangold one. But that might not happen because it's not looking good for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, is it? These all seem a little more interesting and exciting than the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel. Also, it presumably won't cost over $1,000 to see them. You mean $6,000 for a family of 4 for 2 nights. They also did have a $20,000 like premium thing. Does that mean I shudder to think what that includes? Anyway, so we'll leave it there. But like I say, it's closing in September anyway. Is the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, the Halcyon, which they tried to write into canon, didn't they? Saying it was where Han Solo and Leia had their honeymoon. A load of garbage. Anyway. And I think that's it for... that's not it, but that's it for, you know, the nerdy news. Now it's big cat time. Dun, dun, dun. Hang on, where is it? Where is it? Dun, dun, dun. Because I've written 2 books, as you know. A Silent Predator is about big cats run around northern England eating people. Shall I read a bit from it? See if I can find a bit where a big cat's getting somebody. Got to be here somewhere. I know it does happen. I wrote the bugger. I'm just trying to find a bit. Hey. Hang on, is that it? No, that's something else. It's here somewhere. Right. Here we go. Right. This is where a couple of characters. We've got a character called Marie, and a character not inspired by you, Marie, and a character called Chopper, where they're in their car and they're doing some like cheeky things. But they have an argument, and then something happens. Here we go. Chopper's gone off out of the car to do something, and she calls after him. Chopper, she called. Where are you, you knobhead? It's not for kids, this book, by the way. The rustling of leaves was her only reply. Shite here then, I'm off home. She pulled open the passenger side door and reached in to grab her jacket. Something heavy pushed her forward, smashing her mouth against the top of the open door. Ow! She felt her front teeth shatter and saw her own blood spray across the damp white roof of the Montego, which is a car. So there you go. She slumped to the ground, her hands going to her mouth and coming away with rich dark liquid on them. She blubbered, spitting more blood onto her drawn-up legs. The pain was so intense that she felt as though her whole face had been decimated. Her vision became blurred as tears filled her eyes and pain flooded her entire head. What had happened? Who had hit her? Chopper? Why? A movement in front of where she was sitting had her frantically wiping the tears from her eyes, dark mascara and eyeliner smearing on the backs of her hands. Chopper? Well, she'd be like, going, Chopper? She quickly realised that it was not her boyfriend. From his hiding place beneath the car, Terence Bennett, Chopper to his friends, sobbed fitfully yet silently as he watched his girlfriend being ripped apart by the massive black animal that had taken his fingers. Earlier on, it had his fingers bitten off. He nursed his injured hand and listened to the feeding of the beast, blood still streaming from his broken nose. This all happened a couple of pages earlier. He watched through swollen eyes as its sleek muzzle disappeared into Marie's torso, tearing out and devouring internal organs with a precision that would have made a surgeon proud. Marie's left arm flopped around as the animal gorged itself, flicking underneath the car and almost touching Chopper. He stifled a scream, real tears flowing over the permanent artificial one on his left cheek, because he thought he were a tough guy. There we go. That was a snippet from Silent Predator about big cats eating people, particularly a young girl called Marie. As I said, not inspired by you, Marie. I've got a friend called Marie. Anyway, so we need to get to this news story. With two, actually. With two. One about a video that says convincing footage. I'm not convinced. And another one about a celebrity, a British celebrity, so I'll say celebrity, that claims to have seen a big cat. So let's get on with it. And then I can bugger off. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button again. Hang on. There we go. I'll get used to this one of these days. Right, very convincing footage shows a big cat lurking in Devon. One person branded the footage as very convincing. One person. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. And there's a still. For some reason, it looks like an opossum to me. Like you see the pictures of an opossum, but let's say it's a still, so I don't know. Footage of the suspected big cat. We see footage of it in a bit. A deer stalker in Devon, was it Sherlock Holmes? He was a deer stalker, didn't he? Has captured incredible footage of a suspected big cat, believed to be a puma. The footage, which has been shared on Big Cat Conservation's TikTok, was captured back in October of last year. According to details in the TikTok video, the witness captured footage of the suspect big cat using a thermal camera. The footage of the animal shows eyes and ears similar to that of the large cat, or an opossum. A voiceover on the video says this footage was taken in Devon in October 2022. A deer stalker walked towards an animal at night, filming it with his thermal camera. You can see eyes and ears in this frame quite clearly. But if it's on TikTok, is it that stupid woman's voice? This footage was taken in Devon in October 2022. I can't do it, but it's annoying. We slowed down the footage to show the back end of the animal, note the length of the tail. By the way, we're going to see. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. We're going to watch it in a minute. As he approached, the animal turned around. And bounded off with something in its mouth. TikTok users were quick to show their amazement at the footage, with one person claiming it was the most convincing video they had seen to date. Right, let's have a look. Is it going to play? Hang on, let's do that like that. There we go. We got audio on.
This footage was taken in Devon in October 2022. A deer stalker walked towards an animal at night, filming it with his thermal camera.
You can see eyes and ears in this frame quite clearly.
We've slowed down the footage to show the back end of the animal. The full video at BigCatConversations.com.
Note the length of the tail.
As he approached, the animal turned and bounded off with something in its mouth.
Sorry, I muted myself. So there we go. So that's it. I'm agnostic towards it. I'm ambivalent. I wouldn't say it was convincing. Let's pause it. I just want to go back to it. Why can't you pause it? Why does it go to that? Can't you get rid of them? Stupid TikTok.
This footage was...
Oh, never mind. Stupid thing. Well, in response to the video, they wrote, "This is probably the only footage I've seen of a UK cat that is very convincing." Another said, "Very convincing footage. Tail is very clear." Like I said, I don't know. Because there were no real way to judge the size of it. It could have been just a cat. Or it could have been a big cat. Like I say, I'm open to it. I know they said a puma, but like I say, it's through thermal. It's a thermal thing, so we don't know its colour. We're just getting the heat from it, aren't we? So it could be a black panther for all we know. Anyway, It comes just days after Cotswold driver claimed a big cat as tall as his Land Rover's headlights ran behind his vehicle while he was waiting at traffic lights. Cool. I'm seeing that one. The alleged incident took place during the early hours of Monday, May 15th in Westington Hill near Chipping Camden. It's a cool name. In the Cotswolds. I bet it's near Chipping Norton and the other place where Jeremy Clarkson lives. 45-year-old Steve Woodman saw the huge feline during his commute back from work. Despite previously being a big cat skeptic, Steve says now he knows big cats are out there because he has seen one for himself. Steve works as a night manager at a wedding venue. He said, I was driving home after work down Westington Hill at around 1 a.m. I stopped at the temporary traffic lights, which were there then, and wishing for them to hurry up and turn green. I know what you feel. Then from the left near side, I saw something and realised it was a big cat. Read more here. There's a link there. So that's a link for this in the description. You can follow it. So there we go. So that's that. I wouldn't say it's convincing, but it's interesting. It's interesting. But we've also got another story as well. So just bear with me while I get to that other one. While I get to the one. And then I can sort some tea out for my lad. He's getting hungry, he says. Right, big cat seen by BBC presenter Claire Balding in Woodland near Gloucestershire border. There she is. Handsome woman. She saw a creature in the Wye Valley and said, I'm not making it up. It looks very big to me. That looks crossed as that one. I don't think that's the one she saw. Right. Sightings of big cats in Gloucestershire and beyond have been widely shared, with some even saying they have DNA following a sheep attack in the Cotswolds. We've covered that before. Among the most convincing cases, presenter Claire Balding, she was a sports presenter, spotted a mysterious creature in the Wye Valley while she was recording a BBC Radio 4 episode. During audio shared on TikTok from the moment she says, it's disappeared completely, hasn't it? It's gone off into the woods and disappeared. I should point out that I never knew that there were stories of a big black cat. So when I saw it, I didn't even say to you, look. I just thought, oh, look. And there's somebody's toes. What's going on? If you have toenail fungus, do this immediately. Wrap duct tape around it. But you know, I was just trying to describe it, so I promise you I'm not making it up. It looks very big to me, and it didn't scuffle. It was just kind of very confident. What's this one? Is this the one I've just watched? Oh no, it's Claire Balding. Hey, so let's have a look at this.
Hedgerow in the last few years.
Really? Is it a wildcat?
Well, who knows? No one's actually got photographs of it.
I saw it really clearly. Yeah. It's sitting there and it's just gone off slowly to the left.
I've seen black cats here the size of our Rottweiler. Yes. And our friends have seen a big black cat feeding on deer carcass.
It's disappeared completely, hasn't it? It's gone off into the woods and disappeared, and I'm the only one who saw it.
There's always been stories of a big black cat around on the Dowd ever since we moved here 20 odd years ago. And a number of our friends have seen it, or a cat, but whether it's the same one over 20 years, I really don't know.
I should point out that I never knew that there were stories of a big black cat. So when I saw it, I didn't even say to you, look. I just thought, oh, look. But, you know, I was just trying to describe it. So I promise you I'm not making it up. It looked very big to me.
No, I would believe you.
Yeah, and it just sloped. It didn't scuffle. It just kind of very confident and walked across the road and disappeared into the woods. I'm all excited now. Adrenaline's flowing.
Right, so that's that. So that's Claire Balding's sighting. She was interviewing Roger Smith, a village footpath officer, who told her there had been stories of big cat sightings ever since he moved to the area 20 years ago. He said, well, who knows? No one's actually got a photograph of it. This is what we've just listened to. I saw it really clearly sitting here. I've seen a black cat here the size of our Rottweiler. But that video, it sounds like they'd actually just seen it. From the way they're talking, it's like they've just seen it just disappear into the woods. Or is she talking about something that she saw another time? I don't know. And our friends have seen a big black cat feeding on a deer carcass. By the way, I think the images they were showing were like photoshops showing the size of stuff. I don't think they were actually real big black cats that they had. Dozens of people replied to the video, with many claiming to have seen the creature themselves. One follower wrote, I saw a melanistic jaguar or leopard 22 years ago in Wales. I swore in front of my mum for the first time without getting a slap. Another said, there are so many abandoned railway tunnels. Oh, they never swore in front of me, mum. There are so many abandoned railway tunnels, it's easy for them to travel if they are here. A third penned, I'm certain I saw one in Lincolnshire last summer in a farmer's field. Earlier this month, a man driving home late at night. Oh, we've just seen that. We just read about that one. While he was stopped at traffic lights. Yeah, blah, blah. We just read about that. Oh, that's it. Right, there we go. So Claire Balding says she's seen a big cat. In Gloucestershire, I think she said, in the Wye Valley. Is that in Cotswold? I don't bloody know. In the Wye Valley, wherever that is. Is that Gloucestershire? I couldn't tell you, but there we go. Right, so just to keep you up. I don't know why I'm so interested in. I don't know why I'm so interested in big black cats recently. But we'll leave it there. Anyway, so that's it now. I've done. That was the last story. So I can just get out of that. Oh, and we finally got to the end of this week's news roundup in 2 parts. Sorry, 2 parts. Ottercar Coobies. Hello, Ottercar. It's close to home. Is that close to your home? I presume you mean your home. You live in the Cotswolds or Gloucestershire? I don't know. But anyway, like I say, you've just arrived just in time for me to bugger off. Because I got interrupted earlier on. But done part 2. The cat story. Yes, hello. Yeah. Yes, it is close to. I suppose anywhere in Britain's close to home compared to other countries, because it's not. We haven't got the biggest country in the world, have we? But they are out there. I think they are out there. And as I've said, I'm sure I've seen a wolf in West Yorkshire, where I live. No, I'm a Yorkshire man. West. Yes, so am I. I'm in West Yorkshire as well. Maybe you live over the road from me. We'll never know. Anyway, so if you see me, luckily I don't wear this hat when I'm out and about, but I've got a beard. If you see me, say hello, because I'm in West Yorkshire as well. Anyway, so I'm going to go now because my son wants his tea because it's getting on to tea time, so I'm going to have to sort it all out. So, hang on, let me get my stuff ready. So thanks for watching, and I apologise for the interruption earlier on. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to download this part, and then I'm going to stick it together and upload it. I might upload it to YouTube as one long video, and same with Spotify and that. So I think that's what I'll do. But yeah, will do. Yes, say hello if you see me. So we'll leave it there. So thanks, Ottercar, for watching, and DJ earlier on from Canada, from Canada land, Canada. So thanks for watching, wherever you are, whether in Canada or West Yorkshire or Gloucestershire. Look after each other. Hang on, there's another comment. See, I can't keep up with these comments. Ottercar says, I'll play catch up. Yeah, a lot of catching up to do. Hang on, I haven't done my thing. There we go. Where are we? Yeah, I'm going to go now. So wherever you are, look after each other. And until next time, I'll see thee. By the way, tomorrow is my Monday Moan, and this week it's Labyrinth on my birthday. Oh, I've got to get rid of that, didn't I? Sorry. Yes, take care, Ottercar. Hope I'm pronouncing that properly. But anyway. Right, so I'm going now. So I'll see you later.